Want to find out what's going on in your community? El Observador is San Jose's bilingual weekly newspaper. Go to your local newsstand and pick up your free copy today.
Looking for the training and skills you need to get a new career? Call Center for Training and Careers today. That's CTC at 408-213-0961 and start building your new career today.
Good evening. I'm Siwapili Rose Amador Lebeau, and this is Native Voice TV. So welcome to the show. Today we have with us Lucha Diaz. Welcome, Lucha.
Hello.
And she may look familiar to you because she was on the side of the VTA buses, in the back of the bus and all over the bus, and pretty famous out there, huh? So I'm sure a lot of people said they saw you on the bus.
Yeah, or at the bus stop.
Well, welcome. Now, tell me about yourself and your tribe. What tribe are you?
I'm Turtle Mountain Chippewa from the Pembina band of Chippewas. My tribe is located in North Dakota, Belcourt, and I'm fourth generation out here in California. My mother raised us 7 girls and 1 boy out here in the Bay Area and taught us our native ways. I'm also half Chicana, and I also am very politically active and educationally active in both cultures. And I raised my 2 daughters, my children, in that way, whether it's the tradition, cultural, or heritage.
Oh, that's wonderful. And you're a student then?
Yes, San Jose
At?
State University and the engineering department.
Oh, engineering. That's
Yes.
a good field to go into in Silicon Valley.
Yes.
And we do need more of our people educated in higher education.
Yes, that's
Right?
absolutely correct. We don't even make up 1% of the higher education in Native Americans, and so it is very important, extremely important, to make sure that that's taught not only in our households, that higher education is not only a must, but it's just a natural occurrence finishing high school. When I was growing up, high school was the main goal was to graduate from high school because there were so few of us graduating. And now as the years moved on, we've seen that high school diploma doesn't really get you anywhere these days, especially in this area. You really need a degree, a bachelor's or a master's, even a doctorate, to maintain living here in California. So it's very important not only to have those degrees, but to have that as a something that children can look up to from other
models.
Families, and you know, it's kind of like you can't do it, you can't preach it unless you've done it yourself. So I practice what I preach to my children.
That's good. That's wonderful because the role models are so important in this day and age. And I don't know how, I guess I have mixed feelings. I see all these graduations for preschool and kindergarten and junior high, and the education is, the reinforcement is good, but I don't want people or the kids thinking that's an end. You know, the end is a big graduation from high school, or the end is a big graduation from junior high. They should be looking towards college and looking towards graduate school for that graduation. So I kind of have mixed feelings sometimes when I see the big celebrations for the preschool.
Well, it's funny that you say that because I'm part of a group for here in the San Jose area for higher education, but we do Indian education graduation at the end of every year. And I was on the board a few years back, and I kind of took a back seat, put it to the back burner because of my schooling. I had to concentrate on San Jose State, but I was able to come back on board this past year, and we had a really good turnout. And the reason that we applaud and give certificates and recognize from kindergarten all the way through master's, PhDs, is because we need to let our children in this area and everywhere in Native country that it's important that you've done a milestone, that 1 year of just doing a milestone. And it is, because a lot of people don't understand the different economic status that we go through, and it's really hard for children to keep going with education when they're not even having meals, full meals, or having a good environment at home they're living. So school is a way for children to see that there is something that's at the end of the
positive reinforcement.
Yeah, at the end of their path, that they have done something to be proud of, and it is a success.
I've been to the one that you put on usually at Evergreen, right?
Yes.
And I like that because they see all the way through the adults, and they can look forward to graduating from high school, graduating from college, graduating from graduate school, because you're all together, and that I like,
and
seeing
it's
everybody
also
together.
a reinforcement that everybody comes together, and it is a big celebration, and everybody is recognizing everybody, not just one individual.
Exactly, and they can look forward to the next step, as you say, the milestone, and that's excellent. That's great. Now, why don't you tell our audience why you're dressed the way you are and what you're wearing and why?
I dance women's fancy. I have since I was 2 years old, and I compete. I have competed against the United States and Canada throughout all my years of traveling around, and then I've also passed this on to my daughters as well. The women's fancy style came out around the 50s. And basically, it was a contemporary way for women to depict. They were dancing from one flower to the next, just as a butterfly does. And a lot of people don't know that women's fancy started out with dancing with dance sticks and also a shawl on their side instead of over your shoulders. And that was just basically mimicking men's fancy and trying to make your own interpretation of women's fancy. And so there's a lot of people just mostly dance with their shawl over them. But I've always, and no matter what song that I get, in competition when you dance, you usually get 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 songs to dance to, and no matter which song comes next, which style, because there's different styles of women's fancy. The second song I always dance with my shawl on my side instead of around my arms to depict giving back to the old style, kind of old school dancing, and letting people know that I do understand my style of dancing, and I always give back to the culture and the heritage that that I represent, and my daughters do the same.
Now, speaking of that and the youth, why do you think it's important to carry on these traditions with our youth?
Well, growing up in a huge family like I did, my mother gave that to us. Powwows is a social gathering where you meet, new friends, you see old friends, and a lot of family members come out, and they're held annually, but every weekend out of the year, there's a powwow. And so that basically, because of our understanding of not drinking and abusing any kind of drugs or alcohol, in order to wear feathers and in order to respect your culture and your native ways, dancing powwows, that's basically kind of like when a child plays sports, they're dedicated to that sport. They practice and they go to games, and they see an end result, whether you win or lose. You're still fun, and you're building communication skills. You're building all these different life skills. And with powwow dancing, it kind of keeps children that grow up out here in the city kind of away from that alcohol abuse and drug abuse of wanting to go out with their friends and party and whatnot. And so when you're brought up in your culture and you understand what the feathers mean, what your dance means, what your culture, your heritage, what yourself, your personal spirit means, you really understand, and you don't abuse your body the way that drugs and alcohol do. So it takes you away and makes it safe and a better place for you growing up, and
very family oriented.
And it just
community.
makes you stay committed to the way that you were taught and your teachings.
For our non-native audience, why don't you explain a little bit about powwow etiquette, respect, what you're wearing, how you don't touch things.
Yeah,
And,
a lot of people, they're so amazed that basically, wow, there's Indians still. But, you get that a lot when you're at powwows and people come up to you, non-Indians come up to you and just, is that what you wear every day? Is that, custom, that you would wear and, wherever you go. And basically we just wear it at powwows. It's for, our powwow dress. And, when you want to take a picture, you ask, just like you would ask somebody on the street. If you like something, you would ask to take a picture. Kind of the same respect. It's just not a free-for-all. But the reason for that was there's a lot of people that use the photographs and make money. And these natives were seeing their photos in magazines or in galleries. And they weren't, asked to be photographed. And not only that, but to make money off of that person. And so there's a huge, a lot of people, huge stigmatism that a lot of people will just take the pictures and use it for your own use, and that's fine as long as the person that you're taking the picture for is okay with it. And so the stigma is a lot of people will say, oh, those natives were mean or rude. They didn't want to let us take their picture. But there's history behind that, and that's it's not that natives are being rude or mean to the person that wants your picture. It's just, a lot of people have bad experience with that. And for myself and my children, I let people take pictures of us. It doesn't bother us. And if somebody does make money off of it, then there's things that natives can do and know, because we're educated now. We understand that we have rights also.
And what about, explain about touching things?
Yeah, a lot of people just want to go up and
Feathers
touch you just because it's like
Or the
a
feathers.
fascinating thing. Yeah, eagle feathers are very sacred to us. Native people are the only ones that are allowed to own them, but we do have paperwork issued from the United States government allowing us to have them. And so, feathers we treat just the same as we treat our children. We take care of them. We pray with them. We show them the respect that, as if they're little babies. You still treat them and take care of them in that way. And you're taught that at a very young age. Eagle feathers are very sacred to us. And even though it's a social event that you wear them for, you still have the same mannerism and respect for them,
Right.
Regardless. It's as if, when you go to church, you pray a certain way, but whether you're in church or you're not, you still pray that same way. So it's the same thing as with eagle feathers. And your outfit too. Your outfit is basically it's only for you. It's your yourself's clothes, and
Right.
somebody just coming up and touching your clothes, you would feel kind of uncomfortable. So
Or your
it's-
jewelry.
Yeah, and so it's kind of a respect that if you do want to touch something or feel something or whatever, like the furs or whatever, you could ask the dancer and they could choose, yes or no, regardless of, whatever their answer is. It's their own personal property, and you wouldn't want somebody just going up and touching your property.
Right. Thanks for explaining that. Now you're going to dance for us, and what kind of dance are you going to do?
Women's fancy. The first style I'll be dancing is the way that I set over my shoulders, the shawl over my shoulders, and it's depicting a butterfly going from one flower to the next.
Okay. Well, why don't we take a look at that, okay?
Okay.
That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Wow. You're not even out of breath. That's amazing. That was something. Now, do you normally have several different outfits or regalia that you wear during a powwow? Do you change?
Yeah, actually, not everybody does. You're lucky to have other outfits, but yeah, since I'm in competition dancing for my daughters and myself, we try to change every session. So usually that consists of 5 different sets.
For a weekend.
Yeah, so it is time consuming, and it takes a while to get dressed and to braid hair and wrap your braids, and just take care of making sure everything's tied down, because when you're in competition, there are rules and regulations that you have to abide by that are enforced by the powwow and the committee and the different judges and the arena director that you have to follow. So if something falls off of your outfit, then you're supposed to disqualify yourself and from that dance or from that song. But if eagle feathers drop, then you just disqualify yourself from competing the whole weekend. That's normally protocol. But a lot of tribes nowadays, because they are social events, don't really have that same meaning towards it. They just say, okay, we can pick it up and be able to keep dancing. But if it's enforced strictly by the community, then you have to follow the rules.
So does that depend on kind of the level of powwow? If it's a larger powwow, the rules are stricter than a small?
Well, powwow etiquette and protocol should be followed whether it's a small or a large powwow. That's just the way that you should place yourself in once you're in that arena. Personal preference for me, I follow the same etiquette the whole every powwow, no matter where we go, and that's the same thing that I follow my children. But there's always different scenarios and whatnot in different places, so it just depends on the certain powwow that it is.
Now the next dance you're going to do, it's to the same music, so let's take a look at that, and then you can explain how that differs. Okay. That was somewhat different. Now explain to us how that's...
That's the one I was talking about earlier, where I hold my shawl on my side, and it's basically there's 3 different styles or actually 4 different styles of women's fancy. There's a straight song, a crow hop, a double beat, and a shake song. And with all those, whether it's a straight song, whether it's a crow hop, double beat, whatever different style of dance it is, my second song I always put on my shawl on my arm and dance around, and that's me giving respect back to the old ways of women's fancy first coming out into the public eye, into society, into social powwows. So I've always done that, and now not so much did I show my daughters to do that. It's more of along the lines that they want to do it because they see me, and they've always understood and knew why I did it. So now that they're older and, you know, wanting to figure out what kind of dance that they want to do, they also follow
They
the
do
same.
that too.
Yeah.
See, it's that role model.
Yeah.
So they'll be going to college and getting
Yes.
their graduate degrees
Yes.
as well.
And it'll all be a natural way of life for them.
Exactly, and for their kids.
Yes.
And that's what we want to start, you know, passing down the traditions, the education, and get more of our kids involved.
Yes, it's very
'Cause
important.
we've lost so many of them through the cracks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what are your goals as far as engineering?
I just hope to be successful.
What kind of
I'm
engineering?
also industrial technology,
Oh, okay.
manufacturing different manufacturers goods, whether it's on land or off land. I also am getting a minor in business, and I have a minor in American Indian Studies and
do?
women's studies also. I was able to take advantage of the different minors and AS degrees at Evergreen Valley College, where I first started my education.
They have American Indian Studies there?
No, I just started the prereqs for it. Yeah.
Ah, okay.
And actually, San Jose State American Indian Studies is quite new there, and
I wasn't aware they had it there.
Yeah.
When did they start it?
2010. Yeah.
It's fairly new then.
Yeah. There's still a lot of tweaking out that should be done, but you know, I received it and got it, so.
Excellent. Well,
Yeah.
congratulations. Now let's talk a little bit about the youth knowing their history and the history of California Indians and how that, you know, relates to, I guess, you know, Indians from across the nation.
I believe no matter where you live in the country, whether it's Canada or United States, Indian country, you should really know who you are by knowing the history before you can figure out where you're going to go. And so us that are different tribes that live in California, I believe the horrific tragedies that had happened to California natives, I believe that people should know that history and understand it and make it to where it's not something that, oh, Californians are just a bunch of Mexicans. I think that it's really important for anybody, not only just people living in California, to know the history of California natives, just because the atrocities that happen to them are just horrific, and not anybody's genocides are more better or worse or whatnot. I believe that everybody has their same histories and terrible histories, but it's important for the young generation with their education to understand that California natives are trying to get that federal recognition that all other tribes have. And it's happening across the board, you know, throughout the Indian country, but mostly in California.
That's
there's
right.
so many tribes that gotten their land taken away, gotten their language taken away. And I mean, for us, if my mom wasn't as educated as she was through, you know, with our tribe, because my grandma's a product of boarding schools. She was ripped from her land and ripped, you know, away from her language. She was abused in the boarding schools, and you know, she lost her language, and that's unfortunate that we don't speak our native Chippewa, which is Michif, and it's a combination of Cree, Chippewa, and French. And it was one of the languages that was really hard to decipher when the white man came over. And so it's something that, you know, I wish one day that, I hope to God one day that I can learn or at least understand. But, you know, I just really think that it's important for everybody to understand the atrocities that happen to California natives. It's horrible. And me living here in this state, you know, I've gotten to realize and understand that, you know, it's a lot harder to be Indian here in California than anywhere else. I've traveled, you know, across everywhere in the States and Canada, and you really have to live two lives, kind of, you know, and you can always know and understand who you are and what you're doing, but there's a lot of different styles of Native out here.
There's a mix, and you have
yeah.
the urbanization, you have the borders that weren't there before, and now that are there.
Yeah. And so, you know, and then not only me being Chicana, I see it on, you know, not only the Mexican side, but also the Native side. You know, there's races within the race, and racism within prejudicism within the own culture. And so you really have to understand and kind of take a seat back and see when that racism is happening or prejudice is happening, and say, you know, this is what the people before us fought for, you know, and gave us our rights. I mean, for me to go to San Jose State University, I remember being a young girl and marching and protesting at that college, you know, for students to have rights, you know, and here I'm, you know, I'm actually there and being able to experience what my parents, what my grandparents fought for. And so, you know, I need to express that to whoever, to be able to know and understand that you need to know who you are in order to move forward.
And I know they would be very proud of you. We're very proud of you and all the work you've done in the community, and you're being a wonderful role model with your dancing, your education, and just your upbringing. So thank you for being here. Thank you for all the work you've done in the community. And thank you for joining us. Look us up on Facebook. We have pictures on there. We actually have a website too, on nativevoicetv.org. So, but like us on Facebook, a lot of pictures, and we have all of our shows on YouTube now. So tune in and like us and watch us, and we'll see you next week. Good night.